Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, our praises, honor, and the glory shall go to Yahweh, Ba'asham, Yahweh Shai, Ba'asham, Bakak Kodash, Bakatam. Double honor shall go to apostles, elders, and bishops, a great millstone who continue to teach and to rule well. Shalom to the Akims, a great millstone and like-minded camps and individuals who continue to teach as one body, who continue to be out on the highways and byways, risking their lives for the greater good. Shalom to sincere Aquads, who will continuously learning in silence, as the Holy Scriptures have commanded for you to do so. And also Shalom to the true believers and subscribers of this true gospel, for this should be considered a true blessing from the higher power. This is Azariah Gabar representing the King is Coming channel, back at it with another lesson for edification purposes. Salakia. So this is going to be yet another video lesson covering the third woe. Because every day, something new is being exposed. And as a true man of the Lord, it is my job to continue to blow the trumpet when it comes to these things. All right? So, should be a quick video, Abaratazah. So the title for my video today will be The Cruel King. And who would that cruel king be? None other than that Nero himself, Donald J. Trump. Because once again, it's biblical scripture. All right? So, what you see here on your screen, you got what's called the Young Turks. They based out of LA. And they really go in. They really go in on these Amaleks. They don't care. They go in hard on these small hatters. All right? To me, it's entertaining. So the chick to your right, her name is Anna Kaspera, something like that. And she has a colleague, and you're going to see him in the video. His name is Cirque, so I call him Cirque the Turk. Okay? So these are Turkish, these are Gomers, according to the biblical scripture. These are actual Gomites. Gomer, okay? And like I said, they just go in on these Amaleks. They don't pull any punches. They don't mince any words. You heard? So I'm going to play this video in its entirety. It's not too long at all. And then pull out precepts, as always, to support the case of the cruel king. So let's go.
Apparently, threats from Benjamin Netanyahu and the Israelis is what led to the United States carrying out the first strikes against Iran. In fact, Marco Rubio says that there was absolutely an imminent threat, and it was that we knew that if Iran was attacked by Israel, and we believe that they would be attacked, they would immediately come after us, and we were not going to sit there and absorb a blow. In other words, Israel was going to attack. And if they did that, Iran was going to attack the United States, so we decided to attack first. That was the rationale. If you think that's a good reason to attack a country, and if you think that Israel is somehow an ally to the United States, hopefully you are as far away from making decisions about foreign policy as humanly possible. Now, let's check in with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
I'm telling you, she's a real firecracker. I'm telling you, she does not win or mince any words. She does not pull any punches when it comes to these damn Amaleks. And I respect her for that. I truly do. Let's continue.
Who wrote on X, quote, "We are in a campaign in which we are bringing the full might of the IDF as never before to this battle to ensure our existence and our future. Mind you, we're talking about a country that has a clandestine nuclear program and is not in any way threatened. Its existence is not threatened in any way. He continues, but we are also bringing to this campaign the support of the United States, my friend, the President of the United States, Donald Trump, and the U.S. military. 6 of our soldiers have already died for Israel in this war. He continues, this combination of forces enables us to do what I have longed to do for 40 years, to strike the terrorist regime hip and thigh. That is what I promised, and that is what we will do. Speaking of the Israeli government, by the way, today, Secretary of State Marco Rubio did make that statement that I read to you earlier. I wanted to read you what he said. Now I want you to watch what he said. Take a look.
The second question that's been asked is, why now? Well, there's 2 reasons why now. The first is it was abundantly clear that if Iran came under attack by anyone, the United States or Israel or anyone, they were going to respond against the United States. The orders had been delegated down to the field commanders. It was automatic, and in fact, it bared to be true because, in fact, within an hour of the initial attack on the leadership compound, the missile forces in the south and in the north, for that matter, had already been activated to launch. In fact, those had already been pre-positioned. The third is...
These are absolutely outright lies. You heard? Listen, those Persians were minding their business. They were not a threat to anybody. All right? But the real reason why this cruel king, aka Donald Trump, initiated the attacks like he did is simply because of those Jeffrey Epstein files. And those Amaleks, those are some snakes. So they had information on Trump and they were blackmailing him. All right? Listen, you either do what we say, initiate this war with Iran so that we could justify doing what we want to do, or we're going to drop and spill the beans on your participation with Jeffrey Epstein. That's what this is really all about, you jakes. All right, so you really got to pay attention. Like I keep telling you guys, pay attention to what's going on in the world. Be circumspect. Ephesians 5:15. All right, so let's continue.
The assessment that was made that if we stood and waited for that attack to come first before we hit them, we would suffer much higher casualties. And so the president made the very wise decision. We knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that that would precipitate an attack against American forces. And we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we would suffer higher casualties and perhaps even higher those killed. And then we would all be here answering questions about why we knew that and didn't act.
He continued to say, we knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that that would precipitate an attack against American forces. And we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we'd suffer higher casualties and perhaps even higher than those killed. So let me just say, the enemy is Israel. The enemy is Israel.
Woo!
If you're worried about Israel launching an attack, which would then make American soldiers in the region vulnerable to Iran's attacks, then Israel is not an ally.
Nope.
But he would never say that, of course.
Yeah, there's 2 admissions there. So first is, so Israel.
So there go my man, Cirque the Turk. Now, when I first heard about these guys several years ago, they've been on the scene for quite some time. They didn't just pop up out of nowhere. I actually thought that these 2 were an actual couple. Okay? I thought they were actually man and wife, but it turned out that no. They're just professional colleagues. They both have other spouses. All right, so let's continue.
Push us into the war.
Of course.
You said, well, Israel was going to attack, so we didn't have a choice. Well, here's a choice. Hey, Israel, we're giving you $330 billion. If you attack without getting our permission, you won't get a single more dollar, and we will not help your attack. Who's the boss of who? Because if you just listen to Marco Rubio there, you would think that Israel is a much larger nation. We're the tiny little nation, and we got to listen to them because they're so powerful. Well, if Israel was going to go, then we were forced to go. Why?
Remember that tiny little nation, like he just said. The least of the flock shall draw them out. Let's continue.
He just admitted we have no control over Israel and they have complete control over us. But the second part is even worse. Did Israel use that as leverage against us? Hey, we could go without you. And if we do, then your guys will be caught off guard and a lot more Americans will die. So you better attack when we tell you. That's what it sounded like he said.
That's exactly, but that's what happened, Jake. That's what happened. These are not our allies. Okay?
That's not an ally, man.
Use and abuse. They don't care about our lives. They don't care about our soldiers' lives.
Nope.
They suck the life out of this country. And now they're looking to India to see if they could suck the life out of that country. It looks like Narendra Modi opening up his legs to Israel. Congratulations.
Yeah.
And that can't happen soon enough, by the way. Okay, I would love to have Israel off our backs because they are destroying our country. They dragged us into previous conflicts and wars that we should have not been involved in at all. And now we're sucked into this war, which has escalated. It's become a regional war.
I just real quick, I met a Muslim man from India today. He's not the end all be all. It's just one guy, right? But what he told me was, Israel's now working with the Indian government. And what Israel is doing is driving hatred towards Muslims, just like they did here in the U.S., so that India will help Israel attack their Muslim neighbors.
Unfortunately, that was already a thing in India. So
But no, exactly right. So they're like, there's a little bit of a fire there. Let's pour fuel on that fire. And so, and he said now his relatives are getting attacked in northern India because they've riled up the Hindus so much. Remember, hate the Muslims. Same guys who complain about bigotry nonstop. Anti-Semitism. In India, in America, everywhere. Their whole driving agenda is hate the Muslims so you help murder them for us and so we can take their land. And these are the guys complaining about bigotry.
Oh.
Please, the Israelis, we have to get them out of our government completely. Let India deal with them, okay? Wherever they're going to go next. But get them get them out of our government because they're dug in. So look at our Secretary of State like a dog going there going, well, Israel ordered us to, so we had to go. Otherwise, more Americans would have died. And so obviously, since we can't disagree with the mighty Israelis, before more Americans died for Israel, we had to attack so that other Americans would die for Israel. So my last question in that regard is, who's going to be the last American to die for Israel in this war? Already 6 Americans dead. And we're going to keep track. And every day they're going to add new dead Americans for Israel's war. This has nothing to do with us. Nothing. Their ballistic missiles can't reach us. Their nuclear facilities are obliterated twice over. Their entire regime is killed. 49 dead, including the Ayatollah. Nothing to do with us. But no, all of the politicians, the disgusting, corrupt politicians in D.C., the disgusting, corrupt media, all telling us, no, you have to bow your head. And if you dare object to Israel, we're going to call you names and try to eliminate you from the national conversation.
There you go. I'm telling you, those two, they mesh very well. Because, like I said, both of these individuals, they don't mince any words. They're not afraid to tell it like it is. All right? So there you go. So, like I mentioned, I'm going to pull up some scripts to support not only what I'm saying, but what they're saying. All right? Because, again, Donald Trump, he is the cruel king. He is that Nero, the emperor from back in the ancient Roman times. He's a, He's a reincarnation of Nero, the emperor. He has to be. All right. So let's go to some scripts. We'll close it out. Isaiah 19:4. And it reads, and the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel lord, and the fierce king shall rule over them, saith the Lord of hosts. So an average person would be like, what do you mean Egyptians? That was from back then. That's not now. We are the new Sodom in Egypt, according to the biblical scriptures. Okay, this is the spiritual Sodom and Edom, aka Babylon the Great, aka America. All right? So keep that in mind, you Jakes. So again, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, he said, and the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel lord, and the fierce king shall rule over them, saith the Lord of hosts. All right? So that's it. There should be no debating about this. All right? So I'm going to close out this lesson for today. Like I said, it was going to be quick, but definitely to the point. Y'all heard? So with that being said, all praises, honor, and the glory shall go to Yahweh, Ba'Hasham, Yahweh Shai, Ba'Hasham, Rakakodash, Brakatham, Kwam, Yasharel, Rise Israel. Oh, and by the way, before I close out, I meant to say the disclaimer or fair use of the 1976 Copyright Act for that video that I just played. It's strictly for education and edification purposes only. I'm not making a dime off this video. Because you got to really stay on point with these disclaimers. Otherwise, someone will be sending you an email or something. All right? So with that being said, and as always, Lord willing, Abaratazah, on to the next video. Shalom.